Hello, my name is Bruce and welcome to my channel. I am in Cedarville, California, right on the border of Nevada, just south of the Oregon border too. Population about 450 people. What am I doing here? Well, I am heading out further east into the Nevada desert. I am trailering my KTM 390 Adventure motorcycle, and I intend to spend a few nights and a few days out in the Surprise Valley. It's also the high rim desert of northern Nevada. Very remote area. Cedarville is part of the tri-states area here, where the northeast portion of California meets with southern Oregon, meets with the northwest portion of Nevada. It is one of the most remote areas in all of the United States. It covers about an area about 10 times the size of Yellowstone National Park. There's only two incorporated cities, Lakeview in Oregon and Alturas in California. Each of those cities has maybe 2,600 people. Other than that, the rest of the remaining 16,000 square miles is basically vacant of people. So my intent is to go further east out kind of into the desert and set up camp. The nice thing about trailering my motorcycle is that I'm able to carry a lot of extra gear. And this will be the first time I'm going to do what some people call a wagon wheel camping, where I set up a base camp. That's the hub of the wagon wheel. And I do day trips out and back. Those are the spokes. And I have all the comfort that I can bring in my car, including a cooler, which if I was to just be riding on my motorcycle, I'd be limited as to how much gear I could take. Well, the weather is projected to be pretty good for the next few days, so come and join me while I explore the Surprise Valley and the high rock desert area of northern Nevada. Got a little bit of lunch before I leave Cedarville and head south. Well, Cedarville was a cute little town. I'm headed now south down to a really small crossroads called Eagleville, and then that's where I cut out into the desert. Well, I made it to the little crossroads of Eagleton. Here's where I take off further east into the desert. Eagleton has about 45 residents that call this little crossroads their hometown. There was a semi-famous person that did live here, though. Archie Vaughan was a well-known professional baseball player who played from 1932 to 1948 when he retired. Vaughan played for the Pirates and the Dodgers. He's regarded as one of the best fielding and batting shortstops of all times. He retired and moved back to his farm here near Eagleville, and one day, fishing with a friend in an extinct volcanic lake, a sudden storm came up and both Vaughan and his friend drowned. He was inducted in the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1985. Well, I'm heading up into the desert. I had to stop not only for the view that I've got here, but also because I'm on the Nevada state line. I just crossed from California into Nevada. What a narrow passage. Well, I'll have to say that this road into the campsite is a lot more rugged and steep than I thought it was going to be. It is late afternoon and I fully expected to be at my campsite a few hours ago. So I'm going to have to think this thing out before I get myself in too far deep over my head. Of course, I've got an SUV here, but it's not an off-road SUV, and it struggles a little bit on this road, towing this trailer. So I don't want to get stuck out here with my car. And then I also have to think about when I take this bike off and do some off-roading. Yep, I'm going to have to play a little careful here. Well, this is it. This is the Divine Springs campground. Ooh, look at this. I don't like going over this cattle guard here. Let me check that out first. I've never seen a cattle guard like this. It goes up and then it reaches a crest and goes down. It's not flat. Not sure why, but I don't particularly like it because I don't have a high clearance vehicle and I'm not going to be able to get over that. Now what'll I do? Jeez. Well, this really sucks. You've got this cattle guard here in a V shape, which requires anybody who's going to go over it better have 10 inches of clearance, or they're going to get top heavy, or they're going to bottom out on it. And, you know, mine doesn't have that kind of clearance. I'd go on this thing and get stuck. I don't know why they made it this way. There's no way to adjust it. I've already tried it. So now I'm down to decision time. It's about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's taken me a long time to get here, a lot longer than I thought, just because the road is rougher than I thought. I'm standing here over my head at this point in time. I'm running late. Looks like I've got nowhere to camp because this was the campsite that I was going to base out of, and now there's no way to get in it. I checked all around the campground. There's no other entrances. Of course, there's nobody here. It's not many people probably camp here ever, unless, you know, who knows? There's someone like me. So I'm pretty disappointed right now. Not exactly sure what my options are. I could park outside of this campground and then just use it to camp because it does have picnic tables. But there's really nowhere to put the bike except for on the road. And if somebody's coming down on the road, I'm going to be in the way. So the other problem is that I'm probably not going to ride in this area. It's over my head. That type of riding that the roads are up here is a little more than I want to do out here riding solo so far from any civilization. So even if I camped here for the night, I probably wouldn't ride here tomorrow. So I've decided to go ahead and move on, even though it's late. I've got to find another place to spend the night, hopefully in an area that's not quite so rugged as this, and a place that I can actually drive my car and my trailer in to park right where I have my tent. So I'm off searching again. I'm going to go check the map, see what my options are. Okay, I'm back in the car. I managed to, with some difficulty, to turn the trailer around. Thank goodness I I do have four-wheel drive because I need it on these slippery and steep slopes. And I looked at the map, kind of made a decision. I'm going to go about 25 miles, again on a lot of these dirt, gravel, rutted roads, to a ghost town called Naya. And in the vicinity of this ghost town, evidently, according to the map, there is a dispersed camping site, which means it's a site where people have camped, so it's got to be, you know, flat. Might have an outhouse, maybe has a table, not sure. But I was going to go up in that area anyhow, but that wasn't going to be my destination until tomorrow, and that was going to be on a motorcycle ride, not in my car. So today, obviously, not going to have any rides at all. I'm just trying to get settled for the night. So here I go. Let's hopefully this next spot is not over my head. I can settle down for the evening and then replan out my next couple of days. Well, I made it to a camping spot for the night. It's not at all what I expected. I'm in a dispersed area up on a ridge. It's all public lands right here, but the problem was once I left the other campground and got down into the valley, a lot of this land out here is private ranch land, and it's fenced and a lot of no trespassing signs. So I needed to get a place before it got dark, and on the map it showed this spot is dispersed camping allowed. So there's my tent, my chair, the car, the bike. I'm gonna grab a beer, sit down for a little bit, and then think about dinner. It's a day that I didn't expect, but that oftentimes happens on adventures and adventure ride. I didn't make it to I made it to the destination I wanted to go to. It just wasn't suitable. So plan B, I guess, is in effect right now. I'll think about it a little bit more as I wet my whistle with a nice cold beer. Well, I'm cooking up my dinner, a can of Dinty Moore stew, just over the fire, something simple, and thought a little bit about my predicament here. I don't want to camp more than one night at this spot because it's not an ideal spot. I don't want to leave my car here and trailer and all my gear either. It's just a dead-end road. So I need to find somewhere else to spend tomorrow night. So there goes my plan to do wagon wheel camping. That's not going to happen after the Divine Springs campsite ended up being a bust. So tomorrow morning I'll look at the map a little bit more and see if I can get a place to base out of, which might be difficult in this area because there's really no campgrounds. It's just wide open land, both public and private. Well, good morning. I'm packed and on my way to try to find a spot to pull over and get the motorcycle out and do some exploring. But I just came up and over the pass, and you can see the car's all loaded up. And I ran into which there's going to be a number of these little posts along the side of the road that indicate the location of the Applegate Trail, which alternative trail that the immigrants took starting in about 1850 to 1853, I think, and as opposed to the Oregon Trail, which went way far to the north. The Applegate Trail dumped down into southern Oregon, where I'm from. So I'll check out some of these markers along the way. Okay, I found a spot to unload the bike. I'm ready to go do some exploring. I had one of the ranchers just stop by because his cattle are back here. Had a nice little chat with him. I wanted to make sure that this was an okay place, and he said, well, this land's as much mine as it is him, even though he grazes cattle. This still is public lands here. So asked him a few questions, got some information. I think I'm gonna head up the road here, try to find these cabins that I see on my map. I don't know too much about them though, so let's get on the bike and roll. It's a two-track road here, heading out to the direction I think is the right direction, but I'm seeing a lot of shiny objects in the road down here. I don't know if you can see it, but there's obsidian all over on the road, and it's very sharp. I am extremely leery about riding over some of this obsidian and having it slice my tires. So, well, I decided to keep going. Hopefully I don't regret it. But it looked like there was a lot of obsidian in that one stretch. There's going to be obsidian everywhere out here because this is volcanic surface. This area was all part of an ancient volcano. Obsidian is very sharp. I don't think it's going to cause, most of it won't cause a problem to my tires, but you know, it could slice it. Well, I see off in the distance there's a man-made structure, and maybe that's the cabin. Well, I made it to the cabin. Well, it has a little stove. Not sure if it works, right? A heater, a wood heater. Oh, look at food. Supplies and games. Two mattresses, bunk beds, picnic tables, some chairs, and cabin is free to use. First come, first serve. Well, a couple of unanswered questions for me is, why was this cabin built? It's not an antique. It's relatively recently built. And why is it called Massacre Cabin? In the 1930s, several newspaper accounts referred to a massacre along the Applegate Trail near the Black Rock Desert. These reports went in lurid detail to describe an attack that took place in 1850. According to these accounts, Indians killed 40 immigrant men and buried them in a common unmarked grave. The published stories described this massacre had no substantiating evidence, just the legend passed on from one writer to the next. If a massacre of this magnitude had occurred, it would have been sensational enough to be reported and recorded. Large-scale attacks on immigrant trains were not characteristic of Indian warfare in this region. However, the region did become known as Massacre Ranch, and Massacre Cabin perhaps was built as a recreational cabin 30 or 40 years ago. Well, these roads out here are pretty rutted. I think what happens is when it rains, they become almost impassable, and people do still come out here and they leave these big ruts. I'm kind of dodging ruts and trying to stay on the high side. I'm heading for a place called Stephen's Cabin. It's another cabin that's out here in the middle of nowhere. I believe it's just available to use without a reservation, without any fee. I'm hoping to get to it. So far, if the road stays like this, I'm okay. But it's been challenging me at times. The BLM calls this road a designated route. It is a rough and rocky and rutted route, but I think what they mean by designated is that they actually officially recognize it as a road because there's a lot of spurs that take off and just dead end. And here's the sign right here on my right that says designated route, right on time. Well, there it is. I see the Stephen's Cabin ahead of me. Oh, what a relief. I use Gaia maps, but it doesn't show the cabin on it, so I have to kind of bounce back and forth between Gaia, which is really good for riding off the pavement like I'm doing, but it doesn't always have the landmarks on it. So I've got a paper map that has the landmarks, and I got to read back and forth between the digital and the paper version, and always feel good when it comes out like this and I actually make it to my destination. Well, Stephen's Camp is actually a cabin, a pretty substantial cabin. Let's take a quick tour of the inside. It's used a lot by, I think, hunters that come out here. Perhaps some people that are also into four-wheel drives with an ATV or side-by-sides to go up the canyons. But it's got a lot of beds. It's got stove and refrigerator and all that. What's interesting is that it does have electric outlets, and I think if you have a generator, you can come here and plug it into the circuit, and then you'd have lights and a refrigerator. The water doesn't work either. There's a shower in the back here, which isn't working because the water's not hooked up. So I think if you want to stay, you can stay up to 14 days here for free. And you probably bring a lot of stuff to make this feel more at home and bring some electricity with you. The Stephen's Camp area was first traversed by a white man, John C. Fremont, who was an early explorer in this region. And he came through here through the High Rock Mountain Canyon area, which is just to the south of the cabin. The area was also traversed later by the Applegate brothers, who were looking for a new route to the gold fields, and also for settlement up into Oregon. The Applegate Trail came through this area, was active for only a few years, 1848 to early 1850s. And then as the area started to get settled by European settlers, this became a ranching community. I shouldn't say community because there's nobody around, but the land was divided up into ranches, and it went through many different hands, and it became Stephen's Camp because the ranch hands, the cowboys, would come out here and stay. There's a spring here, Stephen's Spring, so there's water in a very desolate area. Then in the late 1950s, it was purchased by Tennessee Ernie Ford. And if you're an old guy like me, you probably remember him. He was a singer. He was from Tennessee, but his big hit was, I'll think of it in a second, okay? Oh yeah, his big hit was 16 tons. 16 tons, and what do you get? Anyhow, he had a ranch in California and expanded his ranch a bit, I guess, by buying the Stevens cabin area, ranch area here. And he's the one that actually built this cabin. It's a cinder block cabin. Tennessee Ernie Ford built this cabin in the middle of nowhere in northwest Nevada. Not sure what he was thinking, but of course later on he sold it again, and it eventually became into public ownership of the Bureau of Land Management. Did a land swap with another rancher here to preserve this area. It's also, as I said, the entrance to the High Rock Canyon trail that was part of the Applegate Trail, and it's now popular by people with high clearance vehicles and a lot of determination to go through. I am not going to go through that canyon. It would just eat me alive, I think, and it's extremely dangerous to do that alone. So this might be the end of my destination for today. Well, I got the bike loaded, tied down. I'm all changed. Everything's packed in the car. It is 6 o'clock, and I need to find a place to spend the night. I got a lead from the rancher that stopped by here before I left on my trip. There's a reservoir up in the Warner Mountains right behind me here. Probably, hopefully only 20 or 30 miles. And there's a campground there, and that is my destination. Well, good morning. I'm at my camp. It was a long day yesterday, and I didn't get to camp till almost dusk, so I had to hurry to cook dinner and set up camp. And pretty tired. Went to bed last night, so I'm up this morning. Another nice sunny day, having some coffee and breakfast before I pack up and head out. It was quite an adventure. I had planned to come up here, stay at a camp for 2 nights, ride basically for, oh, let's say every day that I was here, and then come back to camp at night. Well, that didn't work out after the first camp that I came to was not suitable. I couldn't even get into it, and the roads around it weren't what I really wanted to ride. I have to say, this area is a lot more tough than I thought it was going to be. I knew it was going to be remote and difficult riding, but it was really challenged me quite a bit. Out there by myself. I rode all day yesterday and did not see a single person or a single vehicle. And I was warned before when I was in the BLM office and reading some of the brochures and signs that if you get in trouble, you are basically on your own. No one's going to come out and rescue you. That was on my mind. I'd say I ride alone almost all the time anyhow, but that area out there is so far out and remote that if you do get in trouble, you have to really rely on yourself. Thankfully, that didn't happen to me on this trip, because it wasn't anything that I really wanted to deal with. I had no flat tires. I'd never dropped the bike. Never had any real issues other than my camera. The voice on my GoPro died about halfway through my ride, so I apologize for that. Well, it did feel like I was in over my head a few times. Not sure if I'd come back out here by myself and ride it again. If I did, I'd probably have to have a partner or something, at least coming along on the camping part. So, but I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed pressing myself. The scenery was awesome too. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like. And I'll see you next time on one of my senior moments.